So we're continuing in the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, which was 32 years ago, and on this week's Torah portion. And the Rebbe explained to us something very interesting, two very interesting things, and they come from questions. The questions are, it says in this week's Torah portion, that's the name of the portion, when you go out to war on your enemy. And the different commentaries say that this is also referring to this going out of the soul to be in this world. Because being in this world is a battle, and we have to be in this world in order to transform the world. That's the battle, fighting. But interestingly enough, it says that this is an optional war. It's a war you don't have to go out to. It's a war you do of your own free choice. So the king decides on his own. So it's an optional war. It's not a commandment. And the Rebbe says, how can that be? When the soul comes into the world, it's not an option. God forces us to do it. And it's a commandment. We have to fight against the world. We have to fight against our own selfishness. And so what does it mean? It's optional. The Rebbe says another question also. In this week's Torah portion, it says that you're supposed to pay your workers on time. And here we've been serving God for thousands of years, the Jewish people, and the reward is supposed to be Moshiach, and God has been putting it off for like thousands of years. So God is supposed to do all the commandments that we do. Why doesn't he do it? So the Rebbe says, well, simple reason that God doesn't pay us is because we're not paid workers. We're servants. A servant doesn't get paid. So what's the question? So the Rebbe explains like this. I'm just summarizing what we said before. The fact of the matter is that the Jewish people are one with God. This is incomprehensible, totally incomprehensible. It's hinted at in the Torah when it says that the Jews are God's sons, the sons of God. The Jewish people are the sons of God. When it says the Jewish people are sons of God, it's a son is separate from the father, but we're much even deeper than that. We're totally one with God. So it ends up that every Jew is before the world, before the creation, before just like God is, right? So and he still is that way, just like God never changes. So a Jew never changes. So somehow or other, the Jews are not God's servants. The Jews are God. The Jews are the creator. They're not part of the creation at all. To that degree, when the Jews decide to come into the world, a Jewish soul comes into the world. It must be that he decided to do so, because you can't force him to do anything. So the Jews come into the world because the Jews are God, the essence of God. So just like the essence of God can't be forced, so a Jew can't be forced. So that a Jew comes into the world, the soul comes into the world, must be from free will. If it comes into free will, then he's a worker. If so, he deserves his reward. The same thing is also with the war. Why is it called an optional war? Because the Jew doesn't have to do it. He comes from the essence of God. Essence of God doesn't have to do anything. That we do decide to come into the world is coming from this essence of God. The place we are from an essence. So if so, it comes out that it's really not so much of a war. I mean, God is creating everything. So we're creating everything. We're creating the whole problem. So it's like, at any time we can just, okay, this of course is not understandable at all. But the Rebbe is trying to say that it's the truth. And from that source that we have, we can always draw and say, listen, there's something inside of me, my true identity, who I really am, that is infinitely good, infinitely powerful, infinitely unchangeable, inalterable way. And somehow or other, from this essence, it wants to fix up the world, and it wants to make the world a good place. And it wants to reveal God's love in this terrible, dark confusing, frustrating world. To stop the darkness and to stop the terror and to stop the frustration and the disappointment. Make the world a good place. From our essence, that's what we want to do. So that the Rebbe said, that works together with the second Torah portion that we read on Shabbat. We read in Mincha, Ki tavo ala oretz, being settled. In other words, no matter what your situation is, no matter how terrible it is, I mean, God, you don't have to go into detail about how terrible things happen to the Jews, right? They say that the Americans, the Russians also, when they came and they freed the concentration camps, that they just couldn't believe what they saw. They just couldn't believe it. They were just people that are just, being tortured for no reason, just being killed and starved. I mean, it was manpower. They could have used these people to do something, to do something with. No, just killing. It was just killing and massacring and starving people that hadn't eaten for like weeks and months. And they just couldn't believe it. Mountains of dead people and, okay, that's real problems. And you can't explain that. But nevertheless, every single Jew, somehow or other, deep in his soul, feels that this is not changing me. It's not touching the real me. Go explain that. I mean, I can't, I believe this is true. The Rebbe says that it's true, but doesn't seem to fit. Why would God die? The Holocaust? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Nevertheless, that's the fact. So therefore, says the Rebbe, let's see where we are over here. Oh, this is corresponding to the type of service that we're doing, namely that we come down from our own free will. The soul comes to serve God. Yeah. We also the reward. What do we say? God doesn't pay us. We're coming from our own free will. We're paid workers. Why doesn't God pay us? So he says God does pay us. Schar mitzvah mitzvah. The reward for doing a commandment is the commandment. Schar mitzvah, yeah, mitzvah atzmo. The fact that we can do what God wants, that's the biggest reward of all. After the Alter Rebbe explained, share that Tachlit Briat Olam, the whole purpose of this world is Shinit Ava Kodesh Baruch Hu, that God wanted Liotlo, he should have a dwelling in this physical world. He continues, and the Rebbe continues, and he says, Venoda in the Tanya, Venoda, it's known Shemota Mashiach. This is what chapter 36 known. She Yomota Mashiach, that the days of the Mashiach, and especially when the dead raise, Hein Tachlit V'Shlemot, Briat Olam, they are the ultimate completion of the creation of the world. Shalakach Nibra, that's the reason why the world was created from the beginning. That's 27. That's the 37th chapter, right? Let's just have a little look over here. 37th chapter. Yes, that's right. 37th chapter. Yeah. The 36th chapter, he says he wants the dwelling in the lower worlds. In the 37th chapter, the Rebbe says that that's the whole purpose, is that the days of the Mashiach and the raising of the dead, that's the reason the world was created. That's it. But it's a thing that God does not do on his own. Talui, it depends. B'maasenu v'avodatenu, in our deeds and our service, kol zaman meshech hagalot, all of the time of this terrible exile that we are in. Ki agorim schar mitzvah, because what brings the reward for the commandment, namely the coming of the Mashiach and the revelation of the Creator and his creation, what causes mitzvah is the commandment itself. Ki b'asiyata, when you do a commandment, mamshech adam, a person draws down revelation of the infinite light of God from above to below, lidlabesh, to be clothed, be'olamot, in the worlds. Begashmiut, In other words, we don't know what happens when we do a commandment. A commandment, when we do a commandment, it is infinite godliness in this physical world, infinitely higher than all of the heavens and the afterlife and all this. It's infinite, it's eternal, it never changes. We don't have eternal eyes, we don't have eyes to see this, but that's the fact. In other words, the ultimate reward for our service is Tochen Inyana Shalavoda Atzmo, is the service itself, revealing godliness in the world. Lo, that there should be for God, Dira B'Tachtonim, a dwelling in this Alpiza, according to this. So if so, the whole reward for doing commandments is the commandment itself, is the connection that we have to God when we do the commandment, and the revelation that God has to us, the connection that God has with the world when a Jew does a commandment. There can't be any bigger reward than that. Alpiza, according to this, Yeshla Ba'er, we can explain Ofen Kiyamatzivoy, how God fulfills his part. It says, that God should give his reward to the workers. We're the workers, right? And we're working of our own volition, so we're paid workers. And God is supposed to do what he says in the Torah. God has his commandments. So how does he pay us on the day-to-day work we do? How does God pay us? The cave and sin since by means of doing the commandment. Every commandment, Nimshach, is drawn down, Giloy or Ein Sof is drawn down the revelation of God in the world. Nimsa comes out. That we do have the reward. Not just every day, daily, I'll call mitzvah, every moment that we do a commandment on itself. Prati, Geula Pratis, every person gets his own little taste of the redemption. Others, you just go out of yourself, you forget about yourself. You start thinking about how wonderful the world is and how does it say, what a wonderful world. But and also Gamze Ikar, and this is the main thing, Shagam Ikar Aschana, the main reward, Shada temporarily, Sagur Bateva. You can say, okay, listen, I did a lot of commandments, and you're telling me I'm getting a revelation of the essence of God, and I believe it. And maybe if you really think about it, I can convince myself that it's true, and I can actually sort of feel it. But I hope that's not it, because I don't really feel, more satisfied, or that something is happening when I do a commandment as I do when I'm like really thirsty and I drink something. Well, then I'm satisfied. Then I feel satisfied. So I hope that that's not, what we're working for is this revelation that I get when I do the commandments. Because I believe you, essence of God in the world, God is infinite joy and happiness and that, but I don't feel it. Says the Rebbe, I want to tell you the reason why, because what you feel is just a little tiny ray of what you're able to feel, of what God wants to give you. That's all that you can appreciate. And the main essence of it is Sagur B'Kteva. It's closed up in the bank. It's closed up in the spiritual bank. So part of that bank is after a person dies, goes to heaven. So he gets a little bit of a revelation. You realize in this world, you get like 1/1,000,000% of this. So you get, let's say in heaven, you get 1%, 0.5%, 100%. But the raising of the dead, you get the whole, the whole jackpot. You get the whole thing, everything you've done, all the commandments you did. You had no idea what you were doing when you did a good deed. Even one good deed you put on tefillin one time in your life, that's an infinite thing. You didn't know it. Nimsa Shoah comes out. It already is in your possession. In other words, God already put it, Shapoel of the worker, which is every single Jew. Not only that, you can open it up anytime you want to, whenever you want. How do you do that? By means of this, by means of what? Do another commandment. That by means of the doing one more commandment, listen to this, that's the language of the Rambam. This is a law. You can tilt yourself and the whole entire world, the kav zechut, to merit. You tilt the scales of reality, and you can reveal godliness in the whole world. V'gorim lo v'lehem, you can cause yourself and the whole world to shuv hatzalah, salvation, and how do you say revelation, salvation, and forgiveness, whatever word is. The gula mitit shlema of a complete redemption by means of the Mashiach. So in other words, the Mashiach is definitely a savior, but he's not saving us from our sins. He's not saving us from the bad that we're doing. He's saving us from the fact that God is concealed from us. He's saving us from the fact that the whole world is not like a holy temple. And the fact of the matter is that the whole world is a holy temple, but it's just not revealed. So every time you do a commandment, it reveals it more and more and more, until finally there's this thing of an atomic reaction. Don't think I understand this either. I also don't understand this. But there's what's called the critical mass, where they have a certain amount of uranium or plutonium, whatever they have, and that they put it a certain way, they put it one next to the other one, and that they start interacting with one the other. And as soon as you have a certain amount, so the reaction becomes so intense that it makes this big explosion. And hence we get the atomic bomb or the nitrogen bomb or the hydrogen bomb, whatever. So it's the same thing. That could be for destruction, even though I think they use it nowadays for good, right? They have all these cities that they give electricity to. All of France, I think, is run by these nuclear reactors. That comes from the uranium that they torture all of the Africans to get, and so there's the whole big thing now going on in the world. But nevertheless, it can be used for good. And the same thing is when you do a commandment. Every commandment you do, it brings closer. It makes more godliness, but it brings closer to having this critical mass. Sometimes, in order to get to this critical mass, all you need is just one little iota of good. And all of a sudden, boop, the whole world becomes good. Sha'az then, in the days of the Mashiach, and especially when the dead raise up, will be revealed this reward. But you already have the reward. Giloi Orein Sof Baruch Hu in this physical world. Like it says, V'nigla Kavod Abaya, there will be revealed the glory of God. V'ro Kol Basar Yachtov, and all flesh will see together. The Nosef al Kabbalah Taschar, and to the receiving the reward, both in Biyamote Tin Scharo. And your day, you'll get the reward. Now, again, I want to say this very clearly. A basic thing of Judaism, which is not found anywhere, especially in the enemies of Judaism. A basic principle of Judaism is that this world is good, and we just have to reveal it. Going to heaven is nowhere even close to the good that's hidden in this physical world. Going to heaven is like, you get a gold watch after you finish your work, you get a free trip to Bermuda or something. That's going to heaven afterwards. You get a little ray of what you've done. But our job is to be in this world. Our purpose is that the soul, even when it's up in heaven, wants to be here, and it will be here in the raising of the dead. But this world is good. We just have to reveal it. And every human being is good. We just have to reveal it. And God is infinitely close and good. We just have to reveal it. And the only way to reveal it is through the commandments and the Torah. That's the only way. There is no other way. Through the Torah and the commandments to reveal, and nobody else wants to even reveal it. None of the other religions or philosophies, they don't even have such a goal to reveal how good this world is. So the point of Judaism is that this world is infinitely, infinitely good, and God is infinitely close and infinitely good. And we, every human being, not just the Jews, are infinitely good. God is creating us. The problem is to reveal it. And the only way to reveal it is the Torah, and the Torah has to be done with the proper attitude. But the fact of the matter is, when you do a Torah, when you do a commandment, you immediately, on the spot, are connected to the Creator, and there can't be any greater reward than that. That's what it means. On the very day, when the day is finished, you have to give the reward. That in addition to that, there's also the reward for the tzaddikim in the world to come. Tomorrow, you receive the reward. The whole reward on our deeds and our work of all the Jewish people and all the generations and the thousands of years, 6,000 years of this world, right? Since Adam. Kolel, including Gam the reward for the Jewish people in the days of the Moshiach, and especially when the dead will raise up. So we're receiving the reward every second that we do a good deed. And it's all being, how do you say, gathered up. It's being, what do they call it? It's taber. What's the word for that? I forgot English already. It's compounded. Oh, compounded interest. Huh? It's all compounded. All the good that all the Jews have been doing for all this time. Why it's not revealed, I don't know. I can't figure it out, but nevertheless, it should be. The Kol B'nai Yisrael, all the Jewish people of all the generations before this. Sha'az then will be the service of Limud Torah, learning Torah, and doing the commandments in the ultimate completion. In the days of, in the raising of the dead. The Limud then will read a new Torah. What does it mean, a new Torah? That will feel that every word of the Torah comes from God. We won't be like these evil people that they take the Torah and they twist it around to say this means idolatry, and this means you have to worship a person, and this means that you have to, that you don't have any more commandments. That's how do you say, decadent. It'll be a new Torah that no one will be able to make a mistake and think that the words of the Torah, that the words of the rabbis in the Talmud could be changed. Will feel godliness like they felt godliness. The rabbis of the Talmud, the Tanaim, the Amorim. The Gilui Panimis of the Torah, the revelation of the inside of the Torah, the secret reasons that have been concealed. So the Tamei Tzifonea, the inner concealed reasons of mysteries of the Torah, and also the mysteries of doing the commandments. In addition to the fact that we'll be able to do the commandments in a more complete way, that they depend on us, all the Jews being in Israel. The Yerusha, like it says in the second Torah portion, we're going to read in Mincha, that will inherit the land, will settle in it, will build the third temple, like the commandments you want. Shleimus, that'll become, so there'll be a political completion. The base of Mikdash will be here. All the Jews will be in Israel. And then, but the most important thing is that there'll be a spiritual change in the whole world. We'll feel godliness. We'll feel what the Torah really is. We'll feel what the commandments really are. We'll feel what the world is. It says there's going to be a new world. New means we'll feel the godliness in it, how it's being renewed all the time. The godliness. And then when that happens, when there's all the Jews together in Israel, together with this big revelation, and we really feel God, then we'll be able to do mitzvah like you want. Now a person can say, come on, I want to do what I want. What's this business? Moshiach is going to come, he's going to force, everybody's going to do the same thing. That's ridiculous. You know, that's the thing to wait for. I want freedom. I want liberty. I want, give me liberty or give me, I want to do. So the answer to that is, you know, I saw a couple of days ago, I saw in a video where there's these people, it's a new thing now. They go in the street and they give $100 bills to people. Or they give $500 to people. Or they find somebody who's very sad and they say, you know, what do you like? He says, I like football. I really love to play football. They find somebody playing football. How would you like to go now to the All-Star game? Oh, of course I'd like it. But here's free tickets. Come with me. Don't believe it. And they film the guy, how happy he is and how he's cheering for his team. And he's this. Okay. So, I mean, the fact is, I've never really been such a big sports fan, not even when I was in university or anything. You know, I like sports, very nice. Okay. But there's some people who are just crazy for it. Now, if you think about it for 1 second, what is so exciting about sports? It's ridiculous. You get these people, normal people, they could do whatever they want to, right? They put uniforms on, so they're all uniform. They have to obey these certain laws, right? They have to do certain things. They have to run in a certain direction, and they have a certain goal they have to go to. I mean, that's the opposite of freedom. All these people are all like robots. They're all zombies. And they have to go exactly according to the rules. And they have all these, what is it, umpires over there. And they're judging, they're blowing the whistle. No, you went over, you did the wrong thing. You went backwards, you went upside down, you did this wrong. And everybody loves it. Ah, this is great. Ah, it's amazing, right? And what are they doing? They're just doing according to the rules. It should be once in a while that somebody, takes the football and he runs into the crowd or he eats the football or does something else. No. What are you talking about? It's the game. Yeah. So the answer to that is that when there are really proper rules, of course, these are just made up rules, but when there are proper rules and we know what the good side and what the goal is, and we know what the limits are, then it's really exciting. And life becomes tremendously exciting when we know what the rules are and we know what good is and what the opposition is and what the goal is. Then every moment of life becomes exciting. Then we're really, truly free to do the right thing. Of course, yes, you can take the ball and you can run backwards with it and make a goal in your side, right? And you'll certainly get attention and it'll be in all the news. Shmerel Grois, the quarterback for the the whatever it is, the Tel Aviv Grouchers, took the ball and ran backwards and put it in the wrong goal. This is going to go through all history. Your name will be famous. You did it, but you did the wrong thing. You did what you wanted. You didn't do what was right. That's not exciting at all. That's disappointing. And the same thing is when you do with your life what you want to do. So finally, in the end, you realize, hey, this is disappointing. Not only is it disappointing, but you did the same thing as everybody else. You didn't do anything new. Everybody thinks that they're, oh, I'm going to take drugs. I'm really flying. I'm really doing, I'm a gangster. I'm really doing it. You just went according to the same selfishness as everybody else. And even more deeply, Shemayan, something like this, there is right now in our service, not just a reward. Before we reach the reward and the wages that we receive, that God take it from yad, immediately when you start to serve God, immediately you get a reward. Why? Like we said before, that serving God and the reward for serving God is the same thing. There's no bigger reward than serving God. That by means of the service of the Jewish people, that they're one with God's essence, they bring revelation of God's essence into the world. This is even before you even started working. Also before, even before the creation of the world. Before the world was created, it says that God was totally one, and God filled up all of the potential place where this world is. So in other words, that's what I said in the beginning. It's no big novelty to reveal God in the world. That's the reality. That's the way things are. Of course, we've been, 5,000, whatever, 800 years, we haven't gotten it right to do this simple thing, what we're supposed to do, because it's not so simple. Like I said before, even when God revealed himself at Mount Sinai and said what to do, and it was a very simple thing. Don't bow down to golden idols. That's so hard not to bow down to golden idols. God didn't ask everybody to lift up, 500 pounds or something. Just don't bow. Nobody did it. Everybody bowed down to the idol. Why? Because who is a strong person? A person that conquers himself. That's the most difficult thing, says the Rebbe. But nevertheless, the fact of the matter is that God is revealed everywhere. And that's what we have to reveal now. There'll be a biggest so God has revealed everything, everywhere. But the fact is that that's not what God wanted, that it should be easy and automatic. That's the way it was before man was created. When God created man, he said, now I want, by means of the service of the Jewish people, in this world should be revealed God's essence in this world, a dira, a dwelling in the lower worlds. That's what God wants. As we will talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. It's almost like I'm thinking of an example. Let's say you take a person that's whatever he's, epileptic or paraplegic, whatever it is. And they sit him in front of a crowd and they tell him, listen, you just move your hands over the piano and we'll play the music and everybody will think you're doing it and the crowd will go wild, okay? Okay, so he does it and the crowd goes wild and they're all crying and everything like that. He says, wow, this is really amazing. How did you do it? So, if you're smart, you just keep quiet. If you're smarter, you'll say, listen, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I don't want this applause. I want to play my own song. And everybody listen. What's this? And he sits down and he plays do, 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 do. It's a tremendous effort he has to make to control his fingers and this, and it's terrible. I mean, before they were playing some, etude from Chopin or something like that. It was fantastic. How could this guy do it? But this crippled guy, he plays one little, and he feels infinitely more of an accomplishment. That's the whole point of this world. Before the world was created, there was revealed godliness, but it was automatic. We didn't do anything. And now God put us into this world and we're super duper crippled and we don't feel God. But if you do a little something yourself, you overcome the obstacles. That is really, how do you say, makes everybody emotional. Amazing. As far as what he played, it was terrible. But the fact is the person himself had revealed something human that he overcame an obstacle. That's the big thing. That's the amazing thing. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. I just have to remember where we are. And now, Yom Yom.